Once there was a man that had problems, anger problems. I guess he went to courses and things like that didn't help. And so he was a nice person, an intelligent person, a kind person, but if anything got on his wrong side, and that could be almost anything, as he would get mad and he would lose his temper. So they suggested he go into the Rebbe. So he went into the Lubavitcher Rebbe and he said, I have a big problem with anger, things like that. And so the Rebbe said, well, why don't you go to, there's courses that you can take and there's doctors you can, there's anger control. And he said, listen, I did a lot of that already and it doesn't help me. So he heard that, the Lubavitcher Rebbe a lot of times just gives practical advice. He'll say, listen, go to this doctor, go to this person. And so the Rebbe said, you lose your temper, it's that urgent, it's that bad, it's a bad thing, you can keep going to these courses. He says, but listen, Rebbe, I sometimes really lose it. And I hit my children. He says, you hit your children? He says, why? It's because, I get angry at them. Sometimes they don't eat their food. They don't, little things, I hit my. So the Rebbe said, does anybody else except for your children get you aggravated? He says, oh yes, you're driving. What about the next door neighbor's children? He says, yeah, sometimes, they throw rocks over into my area. They step on my flowers and this. He says, did you ever hit them? He said, no, I couldn't hit them. He said, why not? It's because they're not my children. So the Rebbe said, well, you should know that your children are also not your children. They belong to God. They're God's children. And just like you wouldn't beat your next door neighbor's children, no matter how angry you got, because they're not yours. So your children aren't yours either. They belong to God. So you have no right to hit them. Okay. And it changed the person. This is a very, very deep thing because, the person could say, listen, Rebbe, I mean, my next door neighbor, I see him. I see my next door. And not only that, it's forbidden. My next door neighbor can sue me. He can call the police on me. And the police, and God, maybe you see God, but I don't see God. And, God's not going to call the police on me. He's not going to sue me. He could have said all that. And, it's like almost an obvious answer. The man could have said, a religious rabbi, what do you expect from him? He hasn't got any advice. So he throws this thing about God, or like I figured he would just give me a blessing and my anger would go away, But no, the Rebbe is trying to tell this person that God should be as real to you as your next door neighbor. And in fact, God owns you and your children and the whole world. That's the proper definition of God. He creates everything. And not just spiritual worlds, and you're going to get it in the world to come, after you die. that God is more real than you are. And so you want to get angry because you think you're God, or you think that there is no God, or you think that, you're the ultimate reality. And so the Rebbe sort of snapped this person out of it. So it ended up that from a bad thing came a very good thing, that this person hit his children, which is a very bad thing, but it woke him up to the reason he's doing it is because he really believes that he himself is God and that he can just do whatever he wants to, and there's going to be no repercussions. If he beats his next door neighbor, then there will be repercussions. But now if he beats his children, there are also repercussions. What's the repercussions? You're going against God. I mean, God is really good. What are you going against him for? You're not going to get punished physically. Maybe even, he did a lot of good deeds. Maybe he's going to go to heaven also. Who knows how God measures these things. But God should be real enough to you that you don't get angry. And that's the advice that's given in the Tanya. That says that anyone who gets angry, it's like serving idols. It's not if you get angry for no reason, even if you get angry for good reasons. That it's like serving idols. And what's the reason why? Because you're denying that God exists, you're worshiping yourself. You think I call the shots. So that's a way to transform darkness to light, negative things to bad, to good things, even sins to commandments, right? The person always thought in his mind, if I do what I want, then I'm going to end up beating my children, doing bad things again. I can't trust myself. There's not too many people in the world that realize that they can't trust themselves. Not too many people in the world. So from a bad thing came a very good thing. Have a good day with Mashiach now, and God willing, we will meet tomorrow, 8:15 in the morning.